Andretti's entrance into Formula One as an independent 11th team has just received a massive boost. General Motors has devoted itself to building a Cadillac-badged Formula One engine as early as 2028 in order to power Andretti's futuristic hopes of being competitive in the sport. While many are still reluctant to accept Andretti as an equal member in the sport, something that is still yet to happen, with the company having to convince the marketing side of the sport that they would be much more a boost than a burden. This move has put Andretti in a much stronger position as it helps bring back the sport's old roots. More independent teams with more independent engine manufacturers. Is this the move that Andretti was waiting for so long? And if so, why are the other teams so scared of it actually becoming a reality? For a long period of time, we've all been hearing all kinds of talk about Andretti entering Formula One with different methods, with the 2021 buyout of Sauber being the closest one the American company has come to. However, after Sauber gave up on the deal and decided to sell to Audi later down the road, it became pretty obvious that the only way Andretti would enter the sport is as a solidified, independent 11th team on the grid, something that has not happened since 2016 and something that not many in the Formula One world would have a positive view on. But knowing that he will face all kinds of scrutiny from Wolff, who said that this move is going to take a lot more from the sport than eventually add it, Andretti has started an unseen logistic operation back in Indianapolis, building a factory that is worth over $350 million and stretches over 575,000 square foot of land in order to house all of the racing operations of the company, Formula One included. And passing both of the FIA tests and being the only company that has done so successfully, Andretti has one of the biggest obstacles that it needs to tackle right now, convincing the marketing team in Formula One that they need to change their views and perspectives on how an 11th team would affect the sport. However, Andretti knows his way around this sport, and the fact that General Motors has announced it will supply Andretti with an F1 power unit and has already registered with the FIA to be a manufacturer in 2028 says a lot about their intention to compete. This would put them above the rank of McLaren and Aston Martin, who are still dependent on the Mercedes engine, and most likely, if the engine turns out to be good performing and reliable, Andretti would find himself in the same business chat as Mercedes and Ferrari, who have all customer companies that are using their engines in order to compete in the sport. Elaborating on this matter even further, Mark Roos, the president of General Motors, went on to say, "We are thrilled that our new Andretti-Cadillac F1 entry will be powered by a GM power unit. With our deep engineering and racing expertise, we're confident we'll develop a successful power unit for the series and position Andretti-Cadillac as a true works team. We will run with the very best at the highest levels with passion and integrity that will help elevate the sport for race fans around the world." Now, according to the company, the development and testing of prototype technology is already underway, and it will massively advance GM's expertise in areas that include electrification, hybrid technology, sustainable fuels, advanced controls, high-efficiency internal combustion engines, and software systems. And who other than Ben Mohamed Saliem to welcome the news, as the president of the FIA is very happy that his mission of having 12 teams on the grid at some point down the line has gotten even closer to being achieved. Michael Andretti has also elaborated on the latest developments from General Motors and Cadillac. Cadillac, the company that said if it's not for Andretti, they would not be entering the sport in the first place. And when talking about this, the American said, "The GMPU will be a strong addition to F1. We are proud the Andretti-Cadillac partnership will make this possible. Our commitment to excellence will not be taken lightly as we continue planning to enter F1 as soon as possible. And in 2028, Andretti-Cadillac will compete as a true American works team. The historic partnership will accelerate the sport in the fast-growing US market as well as globally." If it turns out to be the reality, then in 2028 we're going to have 7 independent engine manufacturers: Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull Power Unit and Ford, Renault, Honda, GM and Audi. And we can never ignore the fact that the hot and cold game that Honda is currently playing with the sport is not going to change until 2028 yet again. If the scenario of 8 independent engine manufacturers hitting the grid, then this is going to be extremely good news for the entire sport, because the competition will go through the roof and everybody will have more or less equal ground to work on, pushing the limits for both their primary teams and proving that their engine is the best for the other not so competitive teams to use as their primary aggregate. This just goes to show that no matter what the FOM does to Andretti, he will be able to overcome all of the obstacles, and more importantly, he's not afraid of the new challenge. He has the support of the USA's continent in every aspect you could possibly think of. An all-American team with an American engine and an American driver in Colton Herta is definitely what would boost the spirits of the newest fan base that has fallen in love with the sport in the past couple of years. After all, the expansion that the sport has gone through in the USA, with Las Vegas poised to be one of the greatest spectacles in the world, is not going to go unnoticed by the fans. And what would they love more than anything in the upcoming period is to have one of their own teams to cheer for. So which questions are still left unanswered? The dilution fund number is something that the F1 team principals need to calculate amongst themselves with the respective people who are responsible for it, because if there is an 11th team entering the grid, then the prize money, of course, would be diluted, which is why Andretti needs to pay an entrance fee. However, the argument that he would bring nothing more than 2 backmarkers on the grid is slowly but surely falling into the water, because in the worst case scenario, even if Andretti is not able to compete up front for race wins, which is hard to imagine considering the investment that has been made from both him and GM, then look at the spectacle that's going on in the USA right now, even without his presence. The entire USA audience is behind him, supporting Andretti and Cadillac to enter the sport as one of their own, and not acknowledging Haas as a real American team due to its politics inside the sport. Yep, the first couple of years are surely going to be a challenge, and if Andretti is to enter the sport from 2025 onwards with a Renault-powered engine, then of course we're very unlikely to see Colton Herta and his teammate compete up front, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should be scrapping the project right away, as the real potential of this team would be seen in 2028 and beyond. This is the time where Audi is also planning to be competitive for race wins, as the newcomer has put in a 3-year period from the day of their entrance in order to understand everything they need and challenge for wins more frequently. All in all, it's going to be highly anticipating and an extremely changing nature for F1, because this is not the traditional way that the FOM wants to see things done, just like Audi did with Sauber. But nobody can blame Andretti for going down this road. He tried buyouts on many of the teams, including Williams, Aston Martin and Sauber as well. The new engine will definitely be welcomed, and even some of the team principals like James Vowles have admitted that this is something that would add a lot of value to the sport. However, the fact that we're going to go back to 22 cars, which is not the first time that's happened in the sport, as we did witness 24 cars going around the track, is not something that the team principals as well as the FOM are ready to see. Something that might have revealed the dark, greedy side of the sport when it comes to we want your money, but we don't want your teams. With this in mind, do you think that Andretti has finally sealed the deal when it comes to entering Formula One? And if so, how do you think it will affect the existing members of the sport? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.